Welcome on Life, Death, and Beyond. We have a special guest with us, MK McDaniels. MK McDaniels, Kathy, a best-selling author and speaker, shares her extraordinary near-death experience after a life-threatening illness placed her in a coma for 3 weeks. During that time, she journeyed through several realms of darkness, replaying out her former earthly traumas before being lifted into the radiant light of the divine love. Kathy's healing journey became both a spiritual and emotional awakening, revealing the deeper inner connection between our earthly struggles and the soul's journey towards light. Her journey is one of courage, faith, and transformation, reminding us that even in our darkest moments, love and healing are always within reach. As a speaker, Kathy is available to share her incredible experience to help educate and entertain groups. She uses humor as a way to bring light to the topic. Her best-selling book, Misfit in Hell to Heaven Expat, is a memoir of MK's haunting near-death journey. You can find that book globally at major retailers. You can also contact Kathy at misfitinhelltoheavenexpat.com. Welcome, Kathy. So glad that you could join us today. I am looking forward to this conversation about your unique near-death experience. Not everybody gets to have that experience that they go through, as part of their near-death experience. Would you like to share how life was before your near-death experience?
Sure. I'm glad to be on the show, Laura. Thanks for inviting me. My life was pretty simple. My dad was in the Navy, so we traveled a lot. Didn't stay any place longer than 4 years, so I got to be the new kid a lot and learned to be kind of did break out of my shyness and learn to be a little more outgoing, and that was good. And then I lived in Santa Cruz, California for 35 years, had my own business there, property management, a lot of friends, went to high school. So that was a really good place to be. And then I was called by my former fiance one day who said that he was going up to Seattle because he had leukemia and he needed a caregiver, another caregiver, and would I go? And so I said, sure. And I had just sold the business, so I was ready to pack up and go.
Awesome. And did you grow up with any religious beliefs or anything like that?
I was a cradle Catholic. So my dad had been shot down over the Philippines in World War II, and his plane landed upside down on a beach where the people were firing at one another, and his plane caught fire, and he thought he was an atheist. And he said, God, if you're out there and you save me, I'll become a Catholic and raise my family. And just as he got that thought out of his mind, out of the jungle comes a couple of the people that were on our side, and they drug him out of the plane and into the bushes, and he got on a ship and got back to Hawaii, and when mom and he got home and said to my mother, we're going to be Catholics. So they traipsed all three of us kids down there, and yeah, so I went to Catholic schools my whole life.
Oh, wow. That's
Hmm.
really interesting. So yeah. So what led up to the near-death experience?
Well, while I was taking care of my friend, that was supposed to be like a 3-month deal. He was in a research facility, so they were trying all kinds of drugs on him. And it stretched out to 9 months of day and night stress, not sleeping, up and down, back and forth. And he died, and he was only 52. And I was about the same age. And it was a mess, I couldn't
Mm,
believe he had died. It was just not in the cards in my life. And so I caught this flu that was going around. It was very akin to COVID. And this was 26 years ago. And they didn't
okay.
know how to treat it. But by the time my friend got me to the doc in the box where I was going to go, because I was so darn sick, I was coughing up blood, and I passed out in the parking lot. And he had to carry me in, and they couldn't find a pulse, and got an ambulance and took me to a emergency room. And I woke up in a hospital in an oxygen tent, and my family was there, from California and then Colorado and everything. And I said, "What's going on?" And they said, well, you are really sick and they're not sure what to do with you. And so a doctor came in and says, the only thing we can think of to do is to put you into a drug-induced coma. And then we're just going to throw the medical book at you because
Oh no.
this is a syndrome and it doesn't respond to antibiotics. And so thank God my daughter got online and found an ARDS group. That's what I had, acute respiratory distress syndrome, which is lung failure. And she talked to the back and forth to them and got what information she could and gave it to the pulmonologist so she could set oh, there was different velocities of the air coming in and out and how many minutes apart and all that. And thank God she was there because that kept me alive in the coma.
Yeah, wow. That does not sound like fun at all.
No,
No,
no, it
wow.
was
Oh my
not.
gosh.
And just before I went out, the guy was going to put me out and says, "Now listen, just relax. You know, it's just going to be a deep sleep, and you will be your brain's offline, and you won't be able to remember anything." And that was
Hmm.
the last thing I heard.
It's interesting that they didn't know how to deal with that. Was it something new that was going around
Yeah,
or?
it's like COVID, same thing. There's no, they've got a vaccine now to prevent it,
Yeah.
but pretty much they put you on a ventilator and hope you make it. They told me that your lungs start to fill up with this liquid, and then it gets to a point where it just starts to solidify, and then all your organs shut down and you die. And it does not react to antibiotics. So they told me
Hmm.
your body will make up its mind whether to stop making the liquid and then start absorbing it or not.
Right. Hmm. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Of course, that was
Yeah.
26 years ago, and I don't know what they're doing now, but they still lose a lot of people to COVID.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm glad they have something that does help that now. If it's still out there. So very good. And so can you explain how you're from there, your near-death experience journey?
Well, I just said goodbye to my family and, you know, was gone. But I don't know when I woke up and I was in this completely dark place and I didn't know where I was or how I got there, what was going on. I couldn't really remember anything about being sick. I was just kind of freaked out about being in this dark place. It was like a closet and there was no sound and I didn't know if I was standing or sitting, so I was afraid to move. And then eventually this kind of a reddish glow started happening and it kind of looked like the sun was coming up and I thought, well, great, at least I'll get some light. Figure out where in the heck I am, you know? But as it got lighter, it was really just a swirling red fog that was around me and I thought that was pretty odd. And then I started hearing people shrieking and moaning and I thought, good grief, what's that, you know? And then all of a sudden this voice just boomed out of the fog that said, do you know where you are?
Wow.
I thought, I was trying to think of something other than that one word, but I thought, hell? And then it just boomed this maniacal boo ha 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 laugh thing. And I freaked out and I thought, I've got to get away from whatever that is. That's
Mhm.
not good. So I just turned to the left and ran. So you don't know you're dead. On the other side, it's still you, you know.
Mhm.
And so I just ran into the darkness till I couldn't hear anything. And then I just stopped because I was afraid I was going to run into a wall or step in a hole or something. And I was just kind of standing there, felt like I was standing. And then all of a sudden, this bright lights came up, and I closed my eyes for a second, and I opened them up, and oh my gosh, I'm in this completely war torn. It looked like the Palestine right now or Gaza, with all the
Mm.
buildings blown up and people screaming and running around, and there was fires, and just all of a sudden, out of nowhere, that's where I am. So I'm thinking, holy, you know what? I've got to get out of, I'm standing right in the middle of all this. I've got to get someplace where I can hide that's safe till I
Mhm.
can figure out what's going on. So I eventually tried to find a place. I'm crawling over concrete and all kinds of stuff. There's weird people walking around. There's the strange machines clunking by. And then I thought, wow, it must be aliens. But again, all this
Hmm.
chaos. And finally, I tried to climb this big piece of concrete and I fell backwards and I thought, oh, shoot, this is really going to hurt. But then the lights went out and then the lights would come up and I'd be someplace else.
Huh.
And this went on, this is called segments. And I went on and on with this for a very long time. There was the next one was meeting up with a demon that had a very strange request. He wanted me to cut down all these blackberry vines, or as far as you could see, with kindergarten scissors. He told me that if do you want to get out? And I said, I'm talking to this demon. I said, yeah, I really do. And he said, well, I just got a job for you. So he shows me this whole thing and then starts laughing. So I knew he was just being mean. And
Mm-hmm.
I was mad. I thought, I don't know how I got here, but I really need to get out. So I started cutting these vines down, but as soon as I cut one, it grew back. And then he
Oh
was
no.
laughing, and I just kept going, but the lights went out and I didn't move. And I thought, oh no, now what? And then the lights come up, and I'd be in another place. I was in a horrible hospital situation where they wanted me to do something icky. And I said no. And so each time I would say no, they'd say, it's just going to get harder. And I thought, no, I have to keep going. There's got to be a way out of here. I had no idea where I was. I could have been on Mars for all I knew. It was just too strange, but it was real. So it kept going. A lot of the time I was on this empty road. It was just dirt and I was outside and there was you look up and it was just black. There was no stars and there was no moon and the horizon looked like it had a reddish glow to it, like maybe fire was coming up over the top of it. And but nobody was there. And so I felt safer there. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought, well, road, it's going to lead somewhere, right? So I got on the road and I'm trekking. One time I said to myself, I still had a little bit of my sense of humor left. I said, geez, I think I'm on a treadmill. I'm not getting anywhere. I walk and walk and walk. It's the same scenery. Nothing's changing. And I thought, well, it's better than all these other horrible situations I've been in. An unusual thing, besides being there, was that I saw several living people in my family and which was strange, was strange. But not, what else could get weird? I mean, I was there, and one particular time it was a very close relative, and I had been trudging along. I was tired. I felt so I still had a body. I was thirsty. I was exhausted, and I started smelling this wonderful smell, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's food, and that really smells good. So I kind of hurried up down the road. And just alongside the road, there's this tables are all set up with this steaming, beautiful food and the salads and all desserts and tables and tables. And there was this woman working furiously, setting everything up. And I was shocked, and when she looked up, I recognized her and I said her name, and she just looked at me funny. And I thought, I don't think she's recognized me, and that's ridiculous. So I said, wait, I called her again and I said, look, I don't know what you're doing here, but I am really hungry. I could use a glass of water. If you got a plate or something, I'll take anything, just anything. I know you're busy. And she just looked at me and said, this is for the important people.
Hmm.
And I thought, ouch, that hurt.
Yeah.
She and I were really close. So I said, sorry, I hate to bother you, So I just kept trucking. And then the worst probably situation was on the road, and I looked ahead, and it was so dim, and I could just make out people wandering back and forth across the road. And I thought, well, what's that all about? Now what? And when I got a little closer, I could see they were like muttering and dragging their feet and bumping into one another. And I thought, great, zombies. Aha, this is not good. So I thought, well, I'm afraid to get off this road because I don't know where I'll end up. I'll just act like a zombie, and I've seen enough movies, and then just kind of go through the crowd, get to the other side, and hightail it down the road. Well, I got about halfway through this group, and they just all froze. And I thought, oh no, they've you know noticed me.
Yeah.
I'm in trouble now. And the women, the ones with the ratty looking old scarves over their heads, they backed up, and horrible men with they had skin falling off. I mean, they were dirty and horrible and growling, and they surrounded me, and I thought, oh, this is trouble. And then one of them punched me in the chest and I fell over, and another one kicked me, and then they did this sexual and terrible things. And at the end, one of them leaned way down in my face. It was just gross. It was just smelled so bad. And he says, "We all have AIDS, and you're going to get it too. And you're going to become just like us, and you'll never die." And I thought, oh, great. So he backs up when this other demon lady comes in and says, "Hey, you're one of us now. Get up. Come on, get going. We got to go." So I got my clothes together as best I could, stood up. I'm shocked, and then here's this group of other women standing over there, all huddled together, and I thought they had the same thing happen to them, I'll bet. And I thought, well, at least I'm with women now. That's maybe they're going someplace good. And as we came out of this darkness, it was just too bright again, and as far as I could see was just tundra,
Mm.
snow, packed ice, flat, as far as you could see. And I just looked at the lady and I looked at the ladies, and she said, "Get in line. We got a place to go." So we did, and we got in line, and it was freezing, just freezing. I know we were just huddled there, cold as hell is a real thing. And we were walking, and at one point it started snowing and snowing and snowing and snowing. And by the time we got there, we were chest deep in snow. That's how long we had been walking. And she found this horrible cabin thing that we were supposed to get into, but at least we thought, oh, at least it won't be so darn cold. But there was no insulation, the windows were blown out, and so we got inside, and she told us to sit on the floor. There wasn't any furniture, and we're all huddled together, and I'm thinking, good Lord, this is ridiculous. And she came over, and I said, "Look, can I ask you a question?" And why, I said, "This seems like a particularly nasty day, whatever. Is there something going on I don't know about?" And she looked at me and says, "It's Christmas on Earth. That's always the worst day in hell."
Oh, wow.
What? You know, what? That can't be. I was a good Catholic girl. I mean, what am I doing here? How did this happen? This is not right. And she just kind of was, snarky about it. And I thought, I know it'll bug her. I'll just sing a Christmas carol. That'll bug her. So I started off with "Away in a Manger." She turned around at me and said, "Shut up." And the lady saw that that got her mad, so they start singing too. So we're saying, "No crib for his bed." She said, "I mean it." And then we said, "The little Lord," and she screeched and jumped at me just like a spider. And I closed my eyes and I thought, oh, thank heavens, at least I'll get out of here and go someplace else. Whoosh. All of a sudden, I'm just enveloped in this love and
Mhm.
bliss and joy and tumbling in this like sparkling cloud, like, oh my gosh, you don't remember anything. Nothing exists except this love. And you just never want to leave. You just want to be there and just tumble in this love. And eventually it started to kind of coalesce a little bit, and I'm still feeling great. And it's kind of like white walls around, but they're, it's kind of like a church cathedral, but no pictures or anything. It's just white and pretty. And uh, I look up and oh my gosh, there's my friend that just died last month. And my best friend, my God, we were engaged. I said, "Oh my gosh." And I thought, wait a minute, he looks great. He just
Mhm.
died of leukemia, no hair, purple face. And he looked like he was, 35, not 53. And he was wearing a sweater I gave him for Christmas. He's got this look on his face like, I know something you don't know. We were always playing tricks on each other. And I thought, wait a minute, it's coming to me here. He doesn't know he's dead, and I don't want to be the one to tell him. And he just belly laughed. He thought that was so funny. And I thought, how did he hear me? I didn't say that out. Oh my gosh. If he's dead, I must be dead. This is like
Mm.
the greatest news ever. I was so happy. I started toward him and I said, "Come on, show me around. This is going to be great." And he said, "Ah, Mary Kay, you got too much left to do." Uh-huh. What? And then I remembered seeing this table and this big book on it. It was open about halfway, and I thought, oh, he was showing me something in that darn book, and I can't remember what it was. And I looked up again, and the lights went out, and the lights came up, And they gave me a little timeout. I think I was so angry and so upset they didn't want to send me right back. So I kind of wandered down the stream like I was going, to another place, which I did because then I it was got dark and then the lights came way too bright and there's people milling around and I thought, oh no, I'm back in hell. And then this person turned around and says, Mom's back. I went, huh? Good glory. I couldn't move. I couldn't talk. I was too hot. I thought, what is going on? And it's my mom and dad and my sister and brother-in-law, and they're all screaming. And there's also, and that was just so chaotic for me after what I've been through. And my daughter came over and I'm trying to look and I can't talk. And she said, Nana, you've been in a coma for almost 3 weeks. They didn't think you were going to make it. And my mother says, oh, Kathy, I had a prayer circle going around the world and we prayed and we brought you back. And I thought, oh, you terrible person. Is this all your fault that I'm back? I thought, oh, no. So anyway, it was a very long recovery. And, I was scared to death. I thought, oh, shoot, here, I'm going to have to die and go through this again. I thought, it was just, I was afraid to live. I was afraid to die. It was just an awful place to be.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess you would be disappointed, having to come back after all that. Wow. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. So sounds like a couple things there. I was while you were talking, was that the void that you went into at first?
Yeah. I
Okay.
learned that later. Yeah, it's kind of a, I don't know, resting place, I guess, before you
Yeah.
transition. And I guess a lot of people go from there to heaven. I have my guesses of why this happened to me and why it happens to people. Um, uh, 85, it's almost up to 90% now, the people that come into my sharing, the IN sharing group for the distressing end of ears. People I talk to are recovering Catholics. We are taught from a very early age that there's a hell and that's
Mm,
pretty easy to get there. And I think I know now after being in that love and being in that heavenly realm there that God is all loving and all forgiving. And if humans choose to believe there's a hell, that's free will, and you can go ahead and make your own. And I think those segments, which I over the years have been able to trace back to actual events in my life, like the first one I was in the '89 earthquake in Santa Cruz when the town fell down. And I
mm-hmm,
was, crawled out from under my desk, and there's people screaming and running, and fires and car alarms and everything. That's a beautiful piece of hell right there. So there isn't a hell, but with our free will, we can make one if we want. And I think the message that I bring back is, please, people, God is all loving and all forgiving. If you want to go to hell, you'll have to make your own. That there's free will, but that's not what God does. We all just go home and be with God because we're all spirit. We're all part of God.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a near-death experience. I didn't go through any of that. I went actually straight out of
Mm,
body into void, into the light. I didn't have any belief systems. I didn't believe in, I knew about them, but I didn't believe in angels. I didn't have any perceived, concepts or anything like that. Um, and so from my understanding, what my guides have shown me is, we have to get, it's like a transitional stage from here to there, and whatever, we have to drop all our beliefs and everything in order to
mm,
actually get to the other side, because it's not in alignment with love, which is on the other side. So we have to go through that to see it in order to decide whether we want that or not, to continue that. It's like an evolution through
mhm,
death to life, or life to
mhm,
death, you might say, because we're actually really going back to who we truly are from our bodies. So it's like this cycle of life and death together. Um, so that's really interesting. And I've heard, a few people, like you said, gone through it. And a lot of them are people who have preconceived ideas or religious beliefs and things like that. And it may be just, your belief, conceptual judgments, things along the line that you have to see, and make your decision on it, which is the free will.
mhm. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Fits right
And that's
in
just how
sanity.
it's come across to me on that. And I also found ions through Spirit wanting me to start talking about my near death experience and sharing that and doing everything that I'm doing. And so that's when about well, I want to say 6 months ago, Ians came to me, and that's how I connected with you. I seen you in there. I go to some of the groups sometimes, and yeah, so it's
Yeah.
great to have a support system.
Yes.
How has that been for you to have the Ian support for you?
Oh, it took me 10 years to find ions, so I floundered around for a long time. And then this series of synchronicities started happening, and I found myself up at one of their meetings in Seattle. And
Hmm.
at first I was hopeful, but then I'd go to the meetings and they'd have a speaker, and it was all the angels and the puppies and rainbows, and that's not what happened to me, you know. So one time I was sneaking out, and one of the guys that ran it says, "Why are you always so grumpy here? I mean, what's wrong?" And I says, "Well, that's not what the experience I had." And he says, "Great." And I says, "What?" And he says, "No, we never hear about these. People don't want to talk about it." I says, "There's a reason for that. We're shamed to tell people we went to hell." And he's, "No, no, we got to know. It's about 20% of the people." And I said, "You're kidding." And he says, "No." So I told my story, and the audience loved it. You know, they were scared to death, but they were, I just told them, well, if you ever find yourself in hell, just sing a Christmas carol. Good shout every time. So that we all laughed about that.
Well, I
But
think
yeah,
it's important, yeah, because
yeah,
like you sharing your experience is going to help others, who are having to go through that transition
that's
and go
right.
through those, and it helps to bring awareness that there's no actual hell that we actually created,
Yeah, yeah.
and there's no judgment. I feel, at least from me, that people create that. It's just their understanding, our upbringing, just like anything else in life. We're taught certain things, and we don't know as children enough to be like, no,
Mhm.
not
Yeah.
always. So,
Yeah, yeah, that's absolutely right. So it's nice that not nice, it's just amazing that we've got the podcast now. That's when I got back, I thought, how am I gonna, how much is this too much left to do? How do you do that from a little tiny town in California? But this you do worldwide. And and there's so many of us out there now that it's just, it's just amazing really
mhm.
how things have changed since we've been able to get out there and help people.
Yeah, definitely. And it's helpful to, get the message out, about that. Because for so long it's been part of the religious beliefs that there's a hell and you're going there and you're bad and you're evil and you've been sinful because you're in the body and all this. And, it's not true,
It's not
so
true. I loved it. A comedian was on not too long ago. He was talking about his well, I guess he was just in elementary school, and he says we had a nun there that talked so much about hell, you could have sworn she was born and raised there. And I just love that. I was like, hey, I had that nun too. That's all they talked about. And that's the way they controlled you,
mhm.
I had to stop going to church because the priest would give a sermon or say something that was just totally not right. And I'd meet him after church and I'd say, wait a minute, this is not, blah, blah, blah. And he got to where he would like run from me after church. And I thought, well, it's just time for me to leave that. But it was hard after, 50 something years of going to church. And I think it was because of COVID. For a time we couldn't go. A lot of
Yeah.
people stayed home and they got out of that habit of just going because they were told to, or it was sinful if you didn't. And COVID did a lot of interesting things.
Mhm. Yeah, it
Forced a lot
did.
of introspection.
Yeah. Now,
Hmm.
with medications, I know people would be like, "Oh, well, it was the medications that had that experience," or maybe it was when you heard that voice. Do you know where you are? Maybe it was the doctor saying that, or how do you feel that played out in the role of your near-death experience?
Well, the fact that the doctor himself said you will be able to remember nothing that happens. And here we are 26 years later, and it's still right here. It never changes. It's always right there because it happens in your soul. It doesn't happen in your brain. I mean, Eben Alexander, the guy that's a brain surgeon, he had a brain bleed and he had a very elaborate experience in heaven and came back and looked at his x-rays and everything and he said there's no way my brain could have been working at that time. There's just no, I mean, he went from an atheist, to
Hmm.
believing what happened. But there's a lot of people that have had that experience that are doctors and stuff, and they can't explain it.
Hmm. I'll have to look up his and listen to it.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was one of the first ones. I met him at the Ions when I was like the second meeting I went up there. He was the speaker, and
Right.
yeah, so that was I needed to hear that from somebody scientifically,
Hmm.
that yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now,
That's
can you
right.
connect any of your beliefs with the experience that you had? Do you see any of those that reflect each other and why you had those specific experiences?
Um, yeah, I used to watch a lot of zombie movies.
Mm.
So I think that's where they came from.
Okay.
Uh, I was sexually assaulted on two
Okay.
separate occasions, so that's a great thing to take to hell. Um, Troubles in the family, yeah, of being separated. Yeah, it's all stuff that, and that, the blackberry bushes, I can't tell you how many I had to cut down living in Washington and California. That was like a living hell. You in your backyard come spring, the whole backyard is just full of blackberry bushes. So I took those. Yeah, that's what people pretty much report,
Hmm.
how they made their own hell.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, skip
Um,
the step.
yeah. Now, were you aware before a near-death experience that if you had any intuitive abilities, or do you have any now coming back from that?
You hear the voice, when you get back, the thing that used to just sound like your guardian angel or your conscience or something is really loud now, and
Hmm.
and it's very helpful. I communicate with my dad all the time. Hi, Dad. I'm looking at his picture. He died 3 years ago, and he was the only person that would read my book. He even wrote the foreword to it because of him being involved in that sort of thing. We were really close, and so now that he's gone, he flashes lights, to let me know he's around, and he finds things. All that he's terrific about finding things. So I feel I feel spirits. It
Hmm.
sounds spooky, but it's not because you hear them. That's their voice and
Right.
in your head. But I can do that, when I need it or when I don't want it. It shows up that way too. And I'm more empathetic. I think I was told, let's see, I'll back this up a little bit. When I was recovering enough to get angry, I said to God, out loud in my bedroom one night, okay, the thou shalt nots did not work for me. I went to hell. Give me something positive I can do, please, because
Hmm.
I can't, I need a new program. I don't want to end up there. So the voice came, just be loving and kind. And a couple weeks later, I heard merciful and forgiving, encouraging, grateful, non-judgmental, and useful. That's it. That's all you got to do. If you can't remember all of that, for heaven's sakes, just be loving and kind. So that's become my mantra. And I found that it totally changed my life with just the loving and kind thing. uh, I'm human, I'm judgmental, I'm impatient, I'm all those things. But I'm really working on it, and the loving and kind just smooths the path. I mean, if you're in a group of people that are kind of upset or talking politics or something like that, and you get in there and you remain calm and you know, bring that energy of peace, it it's like magic, it's
Hmm.
just like magic. So I try and encourage people to remember, just be loving and kind.
Mhm. That's beautiful. Yeah, and I know my guys are like, well, if you can't be loved, be kind, because that's the next best
Whoa,
thing
really
to
cool.
love.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, okay, well, how do you be if love is the point and the goal of life here, bringing heaven to earth, right? Per
Right.
se. How do we just be? Because that was my question. I'm like, well, how do we be love, right? How do we be love in all situations? Because not every situation is going to be an easy one to be love
No,
in. And he's like, well, just
no.
be kind.
Well, that is true. And the other thing is accepting that the things that go wrong in your life, you planned for a
Hmm.
reason. And so that helps me in a situation like right now, I've got sciatica, and I'm so upset about that because I went in to the doctor and I said, I've got numbness in a little numbness in my legs. I've had a back surgery and I thought I was going to need another one. He sent me to PT. They gave me all these exercises, and now I got sciatica. So instead of being a little numb, I've got shooting pains down my right leg.
Oh,
So I'm thinking, why did I plan this? I can't blame anybody, because that's what's good about it. You can't blame people because you picked it.
we
And
created.
that changes my life immensely, just that alone. That, and I'm going to leap off the subject, that and that whole thing of knowing that we're just like a ball of light, a ball
Hmm.
of love. And when people see the circles, of somebody saw three of them above me one time. It was a Ghostbusters show, and they had
Hmm.
special cameras that can see, ultraviolet lights or something. And when I told the part about being in heaven and seeing my friend, they said, "We got balls, we got spheres, we got orbs, we got what?" And I'm looking around, and I can't see anything. Oh yeah, we got three. Oh, they're right around her head. Oh, how cool! And they wouldn't send me a copy of that. And I thought, oh, I wanted to see it. But so I now, when I look at somebody and maybe they're irritating me, or I think, oh my God, this person, why don't they shut up or whatever? I try and see that little orb inside them. And it's just like mine. And it doesn't matter if I'm black or blue or orange or yellow or whatever. We all look alike. We've just got
Hmm.
this human costume on. And
Hmm.
it really helps a lot just knowing that we're all the same. We're all pieces of the same. So that helps you to be loving and kind because you know you're just looking at another piece of yourself or God or whatever.
Hmm.
Even though they're being obnoxious, there's a reason you two ran into each other. Maybe for you to, lap a little loving kindness around them and remind them, wait a minute, I
Right.
don't have to act like this. What am I thinking? We all help one another. I don't know, it becomes the game. We're
Yeah.
just down here playing our roles and we'll all go home and have a good laugh.
Hmm. Yeah. At some point we'll get it, all the
Yeah,
lessons.
yeah, but it makes life easier, I think,
Hmm.
here.
Yeah, when even in the midst of the hardest place, it's just being, I guess, present in your life and to acknowledge all that. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah. Now, did you do a life review, or could you say that the things that you experienced was a life review in itself, kind of? Not like a
Well,
whole life review, but just certain areas of your life, a part of
that's
it?
very perceptive of you. I've never heard it put that way. That would be probably interesting. Yeah. But no, I wasn't there long enough to get a life review, but I'm not scared of it. I'm looking forward to it, really.
Hmm.
I think it'll be cool just to see your whole life. And then, there's that part about, okay, if you were snarky or mean or whatever, you're going to get it to feel that. But that's good. That's how you learn.
Hmm.
And yeah, so I really work on getting good vibes back. Now that I understand what that's going to be like, that helps you be loving and kind
Hmm.
because you know you're going to get that warm fuzzy when you get back on your life review. That
Yeah.
might be cheating or something, but I still think it's a good thing.
Well, we got the inside notes.
Yeah.
We got privy to
How to
that.
pass the test, man.
We must have passed some kind of test to get the inside information. Um, but yeah, I had three of them. I've had life review. I think I've been in kind of training
Oh.
with life review my whole life because and I didn't realize it until later that my throughout my life I was actually looking at certain things in my life started around I was like 19, 20, and things that I didn't feel right about or like, I would reach out to the person, apologize, and be like, I'm sorry. I apologize. Part of it was my fault, and blah blah blah. And so my life review kind of started like that throughout my life, and
Wow.
doing that. And then my near death experience, I had the life review, and then I came back after. And in a meditation, I went journeying with one of my Native American spirit guides, and they did another life review and an out of body experience with me. So I had many. So I've
Wow.
been in kind of training, for that.
Well, and understanding, so you can help other people understand it.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool.
And that's part of what I'm doing with the deaf doula, that I
Wow.
do as one of my services to help people with their life review.
Oh,
Hmm.
wow. I've never heard of that before. Now,
Yeah.
death doula, is that, I thought was just helping a person pass, but this is before they pass? You go,
Yeah, so I do more work with people before they're actually passing. Because I don't have medical background,
uh-huh.
so I don't provide that service. I help people, before when they first get their diagnosis, or, the
Mm.
situation, whatever's coming up for them, and then help them with the transition coaching, and helping them to understand, our transition stage, doing a life review, healing, a lot of different things along that way until they get to that point. And then I can sit with them, and have chats about death and dying, or forgiveness, healing. I do Reiki, different things like that. But as far as the medical, medication, sitting with them, as they're transitioning, I don't really do that. But I can help plan what kind of, you know,
Uh,
burial they want, things like that.
that's really great.
Mhm.
I was going to say, do you have a card? But you can't hand it to me.
I can send it to you though.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah, yeah, perfect.
And you do it on Zoom?
Mm-hmm.
Ah, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
in person and online.
my mom's 98. She's got severe dementia, but it's been interesting trying to talk to her about, she's an avid Catholic, so there's a lot of hurdles there. But
Mm.
I think we're getting there because Dad's up there and they were married 76 years. And
Wow, that's
yeah,
good.
they were together since they were teenagers. And yeah, I just keep saying it's a party, Mom. Everybody's
Mm-hmm.
going to be there, Dad and all her girlfriends, and I mention everybody by name, and they're all just saying, Betty, what are you waiting for? Come on, you know.
Yeah. So her
Uh,
mission obviously isn't complete then. There's something still here that, sounds
yeah.
like.
Huh? It's helping my sister and I be patient.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Dementias. Oh, one day they're very lucid, and the next day they're
Mm-hmm.
just a mess. And she's only 19 years older than me, so I have this fear that I'm looking at myself in the near future, and I don't know. It's all interesting.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at it from that angle, oh, I planned all of this stuff, and it's all going to work out for the best. Everything's got a happy ending. Don't worry about it. Just
Yeah.
one foot in front of the other, be loving and kind, forget about the rest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then with your near death experience, you said you didn't have a choice in coming back. It was just you were told that
Ah,
you couldn't.
no, I was thrown out. Like a bum out of a bar, man. I was like, no. I was
Uh,
very angry. Oh man, waking up in that coma, unable to move, oh God, I thought, how am I gonna get all this work done if I can't even breathe? I can't move. I weighed 86 pounds. I had no muscle mass. Uh, uh, it took a long time to
mm-hmm.
just think. I was stuck with these thoughts, and I couldn't read, I couldn't watch, I couldn't do anything. It was really a terrible time. And so 10 years to find ions, but thank God I did. So if there's anybody out there and you've got these problems or you've got these situations, get your little fanny over to ions.org because
Mm-hmm.
there's people that understand and you'll fit right in, and it's just a relief and a joy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's helped me a lot, because I would say about the beginning of this year, I was kind of like, okay, I'm ready to go. I'm done. I'm ready to go home. And I was struggling, to be honest. And I was like,
Yeah,
universe, you need to bring me something
I need
to
help.
help with support. Yeah. And then I found ions. So there we go. I was like,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yay.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, do you know anything about like pre-life planning agreements, or because I know not everybody has the same journey, in life or in, our near-death experiences and things like that.
You mean have planning your life?
Yeah, planning your life before we come in.
I think we do.
Mhm.
I really think we do. And I think that I've been told we're the brave souls. Anybody that comes to Earth has got to be brave because
Mhm.
it's got the most contrast, it's got the most extremes. It's like, to me, it's like the biggest family place where you go to see roller coasters and wild rides and all of that. And that's how Earth is. That you go there to be scared and you go there to laugh and you just really exist in a bigger fashion than if you were on some planet where everybody was nice, you know.
Mhm.
So I think we're the brave souls, and that we choose to come here. And most people say they will choose not to come here again, and I'm one of them. I think I need a little break, go someplace a little calmer. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, I think I'm gonna need a break. I'm hoping my soul is on board with that. So I
Oh,
guess we'll see, right? We won't know
yeah,
until we
we'll
know.
see. Yeah, it seems to take so long to awaken,
Mhm.
but it's at the right time. That's what we planned. So, yeah,
Yeah,
interesting.
exactly.
Mhm.
In my experience on the other side, I had telepathy and I seen tons of colors, angels, well, actually light beings. I had an angel experience when I came back, but I had light beings. Um, and what do you remember about like the colors? You said the love was there.
Uh, no, nothing. I just wasn't there long enough. I just recognized that my friend had changed a lot,
Mhm.
and it was mostly just white. And when they sent me back, I had to go like I was in this meadow, and it was a
Mhm.
beautiful meadow, and I have a picture of it here. It's one of my favorite paintings, and it's a beautiful pond and a meadow, and there's a fog, and it's just so peaceful and it's so beautiful. And that's where I was, and then I had to walk along this stream to come back with the rocks, and I met three people on the way back that gave me messages, and I had to deliver one. And so it gave me time to kind of take a breath, even though I was dead, or kind of dead, and kind of think I had a purpose and it was going to be okay, rather than starkly just waking up. It
Mhm.
still it still felt very, very stark when you're back. I mean, it's
Mhm.
such a change. Um, oh
And
well.
did you paint the meadow? You said you have a picture of it. Did you paint it or?
No, I bought it years and years and years ago. There was it was an auction, and
Mm-hmm.
they had all these paintings, and I walked by that and I thought, oh, that just speaks to me. That is just when I need to be quiet and calm, that's where I'll go stand in the hall and look at that picture. And so I guess my spirit knew that, so it drew that picture for me to be in.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it kind of went into your near-death experience. So
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
nice. So
So
there,
when I look at it,
I'm saying it seems like, that was purposeful for you to purchase
yeah.
that.
And when I look at it now, I remember that piece and being there too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool.
Nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking
Um,
at it right now. That's
and
right
that
above
just
my
goes
desk.
I think that just goes to show that like what we do in life does affect the afterlife, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's all connected somehow.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I wonder
cool.
if we go to some other planet and galaxy, um, how that'll work out. And
Yeah.
I'm sure we've had what, thousands of lives or something. It only makes sense on the recycle thing. If everybody only got one life, I mean, there's probably a gazillion souls up there right now, but this just seems to be good to recycle.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, everything is pretty much recycled.
Uh-huh.
If you look at it, everything kind of goes back to nothing and then comes again.
I
So
know.
why are we not part of it? I mean, it only
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So for those that are struggling and going maybe through the dark night of the soul, traumatic experiences, hardships, from your experience that you've been through, what would you offer as like wisdom or anything like that?
Ah, wisdom. I guess it would be please try and find ions. That's just the shortcut. It is this you can't figure this out by yourself. Um,
Hmm.
or maybe people, nuns and cloisters might be able to do that, but I think you need help. All our souls are connected, so you need to get connected. If you've got a problem like we're talking about here, please come to my sharing group. It's the second or third. I'm sorry, I wrote it down. I think it's the third Thursday of the month. It's under, if you go to IONS, you go to events and you go to sharing groups, it's the distressing one. And it's very uplifting, for people to be able to tell their stories and people that know exactly what you're talking about. That's what people were saying last night. We had it last night. I can tell my story here and no everybody believes me. There's no judgment. It's just so comfortable. I feel like I've had this cancer in me and now it's all laid out and people are going, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So it's just wonderful to be able to get that out and share
Hmm.
it and find
Yeah.
out it's not what you probably thought it was. It's
Hmm.
probably a blessing, actually.
Yeah. Talk therapy is really important, I think.
Well, yeah, well, it's a kind of therapy because I know when I went to my therapist, she says, well, I'm going to have to put PTSD on your chart. And I says, and she says, well, I really don't know what to tell you.
Oh,
I thought,
wow.
okay. So if you've got somebody who's good with near-death experiences, that would be awesome. But at 26 years ago, I couldn't find one. Yeah.
Mhm.
I did go to
Um,
the emergency room one time and I thought I was having a heart attack. And the doctor came over and said something about my trach. And I told him about the near-death experience. And he goes, oh, wait a minute. And he ran, away and I'm laying on the gurney and he comes back with a nurse and they pulled up the little stools that you sit on like kids at a campfire. And she, tell us what happened. We're dying to know. And so there was nobody there in the emergency room, just me. And so I told them the whole story and all that, and they were just so excited and so grateful. And I thought, well, that's funny. I had to have a heart attack, a fake heart attack just to meet those two people.
mhm.
You know, is that cool?
That makes sense. And the universe does that. I get called out on what I call them like God meetings, and I get called out on them every now and then.
Mhm.
So you can meet somebody. I'm like, why am I going to the grocery store? And then I find out,
Yeah, yeah, but the
well, you need
person
anything, but
behind
why am
you
I
will
going to the grocery store?
yeah, but the person behind you will say something. And I did that. I had an airplane ministry for a while. It seemed like every time I got on a plane, I was going to see my mom once a month. On the way over and on the way back, generally somebody would sit down next to me and say something like, I just came from my mom's funeral and I'll never see her again. And here we go. So all the way down, we talk, and all the way back. And one time, one lady said, "Oh, you got to come meet my husband." And sure. So we went down to baggage claim, and he has no idea who I am. Oh, I just met this lady, and she just told me all about having this and that and the other. And he's looking at me and looking at her like, "What happened?" But that happened a lot.
Hmm.
It's just wonderful that you feel like that's you have to find your purpose.
Yeah.
That there's a reason you decided to come back and you found
Hmm.
yours. I found mine. So everybody's got it. You just feel so much better once you do find it.
Hmm. Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah. Yeah, you just got to follow your inner guidance because there's a reason we may not know or why or want to do it, but there's
Yeah.
always a reason that we feel called.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then you get excited about it. Then you're happy about it. And what was it? I love this quote. Being useful is the greatest joy of life.
Hmm.
And it's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know like my soul is like, well, if I'm not doing anything helpful, then I don't want to be here. It's pretty much plain and clear like that, and I
Yeah, you're
understand that,
wasting time. You're
Yeah.
wasting time if you're not doing something
Mhm.
positive. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm at the place where like mediocre stuff that we would do, like sit and watch TV, eat popcorn, doesn't interest me anymore. Like I've lost all the interest to like the normal human
Mm-hmm.
concepts,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
not that. And for me, it's more deeper. It's more helping, and being of service to the divine and the source and the universe and things like that. So,
Right. That's what gives you joy. Yeah,
mhm, yeah.
cool.
Now, for people who have fear of death, because I like to wrap this up with these topics, um, how can somebody negate or bypass maybe having hellish experiences? What would you recommend, if possible,
Well,
somebody?
I feel we manifest them, so stop believing in that crap. It's just really take a good hard look at what you've been taught. Religion, culture, family, whatever. If it's not making sense to you, if it's not loving and kind, you may have to step away from that.
Mhm,
And then there's your freedom. And then you can watch NDE programs and talk to people like that and find yourself. Your real self is not full of fear. It's not, it's full of faith, isn't even the word. It's knowing. It's knowing that we're part of God and we don't die and we're just here because we chose to be doing our work and then we go home.
mhm. Yeah,
Straight
that's
shot.
beautiful. Thank you.
Hmm.
And then for those who are having the fear of transitioning, what would you say?
Um, I used to, well, I think most of us go to hospice and work in hospice when we get back because we're so jealous of these people that are going to die. And I remember telling one fella, he was so scared, and I just looked him straight in the eye and I said, I would trade places with you in a heartbeat. And he says, what? And I says, it is so wonderful. It's just a party. It's just joy and love and all that. And he goes, his eyes got all big and he settled in and he said, shh, and he was just ready. And so I think, yeah, that understanding and just sharing what the joy and the love that you and that you're not the least bit frightened. Yeah, people need to hear that because they've had all this other stuff pounded into them. It's so
Yeah,
sad. Yeah.
it definitely is. And I think that's why a lot of people are like in resistance to it, don't want to look at it, don't want to face it
Mhm.
or plan, and they just kind of try to ignore it,
Yeah,
you know.
well, the life review, I think when people understand it's not a judgment, it's just kind of you understanding how your life went. You
Mhm,
planned it and okay, you did really good here and didn't do so good over there. But there's no judgment around it. It's just like a report card and you can't fail.
mhm. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, there's no failing, and I've got that message too. There's no failing,
No failing.
and we're only judging ourselves in the life review. We're not judged by others. And I
No.
know with mine, when I was on the other side, it was
Mm.
actually where I literally felt the love coming in, and then I did the life review because then
Uh-huh.
it gave me a perspective from source's view, not mine.
Oh, very good. Yeah,
Yeah, so I
exactly.
had I was able to see the difference between it.
Mm.
Yeah. But it
See,
wasn't
that's
from a
wonderful.
judgment.
No, but you can share that now with people. We need to tell because
Hmm.
us baby boomers, a lot of us are checking out, and
Yeah.
yeah, just tell them it's. I can't
Yeah.
wait. Yeah, when I get everything done, I get to go home. Yay!
Yeah. I know, I'm excited, but
Yeah.
and talking about death, isn't going to make it happen.
No, no, no. You go when you get everything done, you go home. And if
Hmm.
you don't get it done, I don't know if you have to come back and do it again. That scares me to death. Think about that. That's what scares me. Oh dear. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Do you have any last words or anything you like to share that we haven't touched on?
Well, I'll just reiterate what I was told when I got back. Not only be loving and kind, but merciful, forgiving, encouraging, grateful, non-judgmental, and useful. And probably the biggest one can be useful for your own happiness here.
Perfect. And is
Yeah.
that in your book?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
Mhm.
And where can everybody find you? Your
Oh
book?
boy, I'm everywhere. I'm everywhere. Amazon, Barnes and Noble, that sort of thing. And I just did it and had it translated into Spanish, since
Oh,
there's so many
awesome.
Catholics in the Spanish speaking world. That was
Yeah,
a sneaky way to do that. But yeah, that's going to be cool too.
perfect. Thank you.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
thank you
thank
so
you.
much for joining me today, Kathy. I really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah. Thanks, Laura. I've had a good
Mhm.
time. Take
All
care.
right.
Let's talk about death, baby. Let's talk about you and me. We're not the one and only. It's going to happen to everybody. Yeah, baby. Say it isn't so, baby. It's the truth, don't you know, baby? We're all consciousness.